Imagine you're sitting down with a close friend, both of you sipping on your favorite coffee, chatting about life and its endless pursuits. It's here, in these quiet moments, that we often stumble upon truths that stick with us. One such truth, deeply rooted in the wisdom of Stoicism, is the idea of working quietly on ourselves and our goals. Stoics believed in focusing on what we can control, our actions and responses, not on the external validation that society so often urges us to chase. This is about tuning out the applause and accolades, which can be fleeting and superficial, and instead tuning into a deeper sense of purpose and personal excellence. You see, we live in a bustling world where success is often measured by the noise it makes on social media and the ripples it sends through our circles. But what if there was a different path, a quieter, perhaps more challenging route that takes dedication and inner resolve to stay true to? What if, instead of broadcasting every little success or setback, we leaned into the Stoic practice of keeping our eyes fixed on our own paper, so to speak, and really got down to the business of crafting a life of meaning and substance, away from the prying eyes of a watchful public? This approach isn't about shunning recognition, it's about redefining what truly matters. It's about working in silence, not as a way to hide our efforts, but as a way to strengthen them, free from the distractions and distortions that come with constant external feedback. The Stoics were big on self-sufficiency and believed that the best kind of progress, the kind that is sustainable and genuine, happens in the quiet moments when we're fully engaged in our tasks, not when we're glancing sideways to see who's applauding. So, let's explore this idea together, how embracing the quiet, Stoic work ethic might just be the secret to achieving lasting success that feels as good on the inside as it perhaps looks to the outside world. If you appreciate what we're doing here, a simple free favor I'll ask from you is to hit the subscribe button and share the video with others who are on the same path with you. Let's discuss why and how the silent pursuit of excellence can transform not just what you do, but who you are. Why working hard in silence matters. In a world where every achievement, big or small, seems to demand an audience, there's a profound strength in choosing a different path. Stoicism teaches us the value of focusing on our own actions and virtues rather than seeking external validation. This philosophy, grounded in self-discipline and resilience, resonates deeply when we consider the benefits of working hard in silence. It's not about hiding your light under a bushel. Rather, it's about ensuring that your light burns brighter by not wasting energy on seeking applause. When you decide to focus on silent work, you embrace the essence of what Stoicism is all about, the pursuit of personal excellence, regardless of who's watching. This can be incredibly liberating. Think about the times you've felt pressured to share updates about your life or work, just to feel relevant or appreciated. Now, imagine a life where your actions aren't dictated by these pressures, where you can dive deep into your projects, your personal growth, or even your daily routines without the distraction of crafting a narrative for an audience. In this space, your mind is clearer, your intentions purer, and your focus sharper. Moreover, working in silence aligns with the Stoic practice of turning inward and valuing inner wealth over external riches. By cultivating a strong inner dialogue and reducing reliance on external feedback, you build a kind of mental and emotional resilience that is rare in our hyper-connected world. This doesn't mean you never share your achievements or collaborate with others, but it does mean that you choose when and how to share, ensuring that your work speaks for itself and isn't just a means to garner likes or praises. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius often emphasize the importance of working quietly on oneself as a form of self-mastery. He wrote extensively about the distractions of life in the public eye, and advocated for a life lived with virtue as its own reward. When you apply this to modern work ethics, you realize that much of what we do can be more effective when done quietly. Without the constant interruption of needing to present our progress, we can achieve deeper states of flow, leading to better quality work and more profound satisfaction from our efforts. The impact of working quietly also extends beyond personal development. It allows for a purer form of creativity and innovation. Without the noise of constant feedback, you're more likely to take risks and explore new ideas that you might otherwise dismiss out of fear of public failure. This is the kind of work environment where true innovation thrives, where you can test, fail, and succeed away from the critical eyes of a sometimes unconstructive public. In embracing the quiet path, you also teach yourself to appreciate the intrinsic value of your work. Stoicism doesn't just prepare us to deal with external challenges, but also to appreciate the inner rewards of diligence and perseverance. This switch from external approval to internal satisfaction might be challenging at first, but it is incredibly rewarding. When your satisfaction comes from the work itself, from the knowledge that you are living according to your principles and making progress on your terms, you achieve a state of contentment that fleeting applause can never bring. The compounding effect of consistent effort. When we start something new, whether it's a fitness regimen, learning a new skill, or launching a business, the initial excitement can often be overshadowed by the sheer enormity of the journey ahead. It's like standing at the base of a massive mountain, looking up and wondering how on earth you'll ever make it to the top. But this is where the beauty of the compounding effect of consistent effort comes in, a principle deeply cherished in Stoic philosophy, which teaches us the power of persistence and the incremental gains that accumulate over time. Stoicism doesn't just encourage us to endure, it invites us to embrace the step-by-step progression towards our goals. It's about understanding that each small effort, each day's work, may seem insignificant in isolation, but is, in fact, an essential part of a much larger picture. Marcus Aurelius often wrote about the importance of seeing every small act as a contribution to a greater whole. He believed that just as nature's processes are gradual and cumulative, so too should our own efforts be. Think about how a river carves its path through the landscape, not through sudden, forceful actions, but by the persistent flow of water over rocks and soil. Over time, this steady, unrelenting presence transforms even the hardest stone into smooth pebbles. Our efforts, similarly, can shape our lives and careers in profound ways if we remain consistent and patient. This isn't about dramatic overnight success, which, while exciting, is rare and often unsustainable. Instead, it's about the slow and steady accumulation of progress that builds a strong, unshakable foundation for future success. This compounding effect is not just about what you achieve, but also about who you become in the process. As you dedicate yourself to consistent work, day in and day out, you develop not just skills and knowledge, but also character. Stoicism places great importance on this internal development, valuing the virtues of self-discipline, resilience, and courage that arise from committed practice. These are qualities that no external change can bestow upon us. They must be earned, slowly and surely, through repeated actions. Moreover, the consistent effort has a way of teaching us about our own capacities and limits. It forces us to confront our weaknesses and push beyond them, but also to recognize and respect our boundaries. This self-knowledge is invaluable, not just in pursuit of specific goals, but in all aspects of life. It informs our decisions, shapes our relationships, and deepens our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. And let's not forget, The small steps are often more manageable and less daunting than facing the whole journey at once. When you focus on just the next step, not the entire path, you reduce the overwhelm and increase the likelihood of staying the course. Each step then builds on the previous one, creating a momentum that can propel you forward even through tough times. Intrinsic motivation versus external recognition. Let's take a moment to consider why we do what we do. Is it for the applause, the accolades, or maybe the social media likes? Or is there something deeper driving our actions? This brings us into a conversation about the difference between being motivated by external rewards and being driven by something within ourselves. Stoicism, a philosophy that has offered guidance for centuries, suggests that true satisfaction comes from within, from knowing that our actions align with our deepest values and virtues. In the realm of Stoicism, the focus is always more on personal integrity and virtue than on external rewards. Think about the likes of Marcus Aurelius or Seneca. These were individuals who valued wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation above all else. They weren't working for praise, they were working to become better versions of themselves, to fulfill their own potential in a way that was aligned with the natural order and reason. This intrinsic motivation, doing things for the sake of doing them well and not for some external reward, is what made their teaching so powerful and their lives so impactful. When we shift our focus inward and start acting based on intrinsic motivations, we experience a transformation. Tasks become inherently rewarding, not because of what they might bring us in fame or fortune, but because they help us grow, learn, and contribute. This is what Stoicism teaches us, to find joy in our own progress and in the execution of our duties, no matter how mundane they may seem. There's a profound peace that comes from this kind of motivation, one that external validation can never match. Consider for a moment the artist who paints not to sell or to gain fame, but simply because the act of painting fulfills a need within their soul. Or the teacher whose greatest reward is seeing the light of understanding flicker in a student's eyes, not the end-of-year accolades from the administration. This isn't to say that recognition isn't pleasant. It certainly can be. But when it becomes the driving force behind our actions, we risk losing touch with our deeper purposes and values. Moreover, external recognition is fleeting. Trends change, audiences move on, and what was once applauded may no longer be valued. If our self-worth and drive are tied to these external factors, they become just as unstable and fleeting. Stoicism offers a more durable source of motivation. It encourages us to anchor our efforts to something more constant and internal, our own principles and sense of virtue. This aligns beautifully with the Stoic idea of focusing on what is within our control, our own actions and responses. By cultivating intrinsic motivation, we also become more resilient to the ups and downs of life. When our satisfaction comes from the quality of our work and the alignment of our actions with our values, we are not so easily shaken by criticism or failure. Each setback is seen as an opportunity to learn and grow, not a blow to our ego or public image. Noise versus signal, filtering distractions. Have you ever found yourself overwhelmed by the constant barrage of notifications, the endless streams of social media feeds, and the loud clamor of what everyone else is doing? It's like standing in the middle of a bustling marketplace, trying to have a meaningful conversation. This noise can make it incredibly difficult to hear your own thoughts, or to focus on what truly matters. In the philosophy of Stoicism, there's a strong emphasis on maintaining a clear distinction between what's within our control and what isn't, and much of this noise definitely falls into the latter category. Stoics teach us the importance of filtering out these distractions, not because they're inherently bad, but because they often pull us away from our true intentions and goals. It's about distinguishing the signal from the noise, the signal being those activities and inputs that genuinely enrich our lives and help us grow, and the noise being everything else that demands our attention but doesn't meaningfully contribute to our well-being. By focusing on the signal, we can live more intentionally and in alignment with our Stoic values of virtue, wisdom, and self-discipline. Consider how a Stoic like Marcus Aurelius would handle our modern distractions. He might suggest that we turn our attention inward, examining our motivations and actions, rather than getting swept up in the external world's demands. He wrote extensively about the importance of maintaining focus on one's own mind and actions as the path to peace and effectiveness. This approach doesn't just help us manage distractions, it helps us refine our focus on what truly matters: our personal growth, our contributions to our communities, and our pursuit of wisdom. Implementing this in the modern world means making conscious choices about the information we consume and the environments we engage with. It might mean setting boundaries on how often we check our phones, or choosing to engage with news and social media in a more controlled and mindful way. It's not about withdrawing from the world, but rather about engaging with it more selectively and meaningfully. Moreover, when we talk about filtering noise, we're not just referring to digital distractions. It also applies to the various demands and expectations placed upon us by others. The Stoic practice of focusing on our own actions and accepting what we cannot change helps us to not get overwhelmed by external pressures. It allows us to maintain our equilibrium even in chaotic or stressful situations by keeping our attention fixed on our own efforts and virtues. Practically, this might look like choosing projects and commitments based on how well they align with our values and goals, rather than just responding to every request or opportunity that comes our way. It involves being mindful about how we spend our time and energy so that we're not just reacting to life, but actively shaping it in accordance with Stoic principles. Focusing on the process over praise. Imagine you're working on a project, deeply immersed in the flow of creating something genuinely meaningful to you. Now, consider how different that feeling is when you're constantly looking over your shoulder, seeking approval or a pat on the back for every little step you take. It changes the experience, doesn't it? Stoicism, a philosophy that promotes self-sufficiency and personal virtue, encourages us to focus more on the process of our endeavors rather than the applause that might come at the end. This isn't just about building character, it's about finding true satisfaction in the work we do, independent of external validation. Stoics like Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius remind us that the only real possessions we have are our actions and our will. So when we focus on the process, on perfecting our actions and aligning our will with reason and virtue, we are truly investing in ourselves. This approach shifts our perspective from seeking transient external rewards to cultivating lasting internal values. It's a shift from being dependent on others' perceptions to being anchored in our own self-assessment and intrinsic goals. When we commit to focusing on the process over the praise, we learn to appreciate the moment-to-moment progress, the daily grind, and the small victories along the way. This focus helps us build resilience because our motivation becomes rooted in something deeper than fleeting accolades. For instance, a writer might find joy in the act of crafting a beautiful sentence or developing a compelling narrative arc, rather than obsessing over the potential reviews or awards the final piece might receive. This intrinsic motivation not only sustains them through the challenges of the creative process, but also leads to a more profound engagement with their craft. Moreover, this Stoic focus on process over praise allows us to embrace failure as a part of learning. If our goal is solely to gain approval, failure can be devastating. However, if we are focused on the process, every setback becomes an opportunity to learn, to refine our approach, and to strengthen our resolve. This is how growth happens, not in the spotlight, but in the quiet moments of reflection and perseverance. Practically speaking, focusing on the process means setting goals that are oriented towards personal development and mastery rather than external validation. For example, if you're a musician, rather than aiming to win a competition or impress a particular audience, you might set a goal to master a particularly challenging piece. This way, your practice sessions become about personal improvement and the joy of music itself, not about the potential applause. This Stoic approach also fosters a sense of contentment. When our satisfaction comes from within, from knowing that we are doing our best and are committed to our principles, we are less likely to be swayed by the highs and lows of external feedback. We become more stable, more grounded, and ultimately, more effective in our endeavors. Letting results speak for themselves. Have you ever noticed how the most profound achievements often don't need a grand announcement? They stand out because their impact or the mastery behind them is unmistakable. This is a principle deeply embedded in Stoicism, which teaches us that the true value of our actions lies not in the recognition they receive, but in their inherent quality and our integrity in performing them. This Stoic idea encourages us to let our results speak for themselves, grounding our endeavors in authenticity rather than in the pursuit of external validation. In the practice of Stoicism, there's a focus on doing what is right and excellent without the need for external applause. Stoics like Marcus Aurelius believed that the best reward for a task well done is the task itself. When you adopt this mindset, your work becomes a reflection of your values and character, not just a means to an end. It's about embodying the virtues you believe in: wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice through your actions, and allowing the outcomes of these actions to demonstrate these qualities to others, subtly and powerfully. When results are allowed to speak for themselves, several things happen. First, your focus shifts from trying to impress others to improving your craft. Whether you're an artist, a teacher, a scientist, or a business owner, this shift in focus allows for deeper engagement with your work. You're more likely to take risks, experiment, and innovate when you're not preoccupied with how others might perceive each attempt. This freedom can lead to breakthroughs that might never occur under the watchful eye of public judgment. Moreover, when we detach our sense of success from external validation, we build intrinsic motivation that is more durable and satisfying. This motivation is not at the mercy of changing trends, fickle opinions, or the fleeting nature of social media likes. It is rooted in a Stoic resilience that supports sustained effort and long-term satisfaction. This approach aligns with the Stoic view that our own perceptions and judgments should be enough to sustain us, and that true peace comes from within. Additionally, letting your results speak for themselves builds credibility and trust in a way that no amount of self-promotion can. When others see that your actions consistently align with your words, and that your achievements are both real and repeatable, your reputation grows organically. This type of respect is earned slowly, but is much more enduring and impactful. This isn't to say that recognition isn't nice or that it doesn't have its place. But when it stops being the goal and starts being a byproduct of doing great work, both the work and the recognition are more meaningful. This Stoic approach ensures that when praise comes, it is not just for a single result, but for a pattern of behavior that speaks to who you are as a person and how you approach your work. As we wrap up our discussion today, remember that the quiet strength of letting your results speak for themselves reflects a profound principle of Stoicism: living with integrity and letting your actions show your worth. This approach doesn't just lead to success, it builds a legacy of respect and authenticity that no amount of applause can replicate.